Hi students, now we're looking at nested if statements. This will be an entire if or if else or if else structure that's completely nested within a master if structure of some type, any of those. Your project this week is exactly this: figure out how to code the nested if statements. And it really is a function just of keeping track of where you are in the flow chart and keeping track of your indentation and making sure that you are properly executing the control structure branching based on the flow chart. And again, my biggest suggestion here is to make sure that your indentation is all correct, since in Python, indentation is all that matters with these control structures. Okay, let's go to the whiteboard and hopefully that'll explain a few things. Okay, now we're looking at a flow chart that's going to support nested control structures. Let's say that you're in a game and some of the game logic has to determine whether or not you meet the criteria to level up. Let's suppose again that there are two specific criteria to level up. Your health has to be above 10 and your experience has to be above 5. Or your health has to be less than or equal to 10. It can be below 10, but your experience is greater than 20. So let's look at how we would code a nested if statement to support this. So we start with the very first question here: is health greater than 10? Because that is the first round of criteria here. It's either going to be greater than 10 or less than or equal to 10. If it's greater than 10, we branch this way. Less than, we branch that way. So given that first expression that we have to either meet as true or false, well, then we're met with a second round of questions. And that is, if we go on the yes side, well, we've got to have experience greater than 5. So then we follow this route here. If that answer is yes, well, then we can level up here. If it's no, then we go and we can't level up. Let's look at the other clause, and that is if health is less than 10, meaning we're going to go down this way, we still can experience a level up if our experience points are greater than 20. So we go down here and ask that question. If yes, we go on here to level up. If no, we get no level up here, and then our program continues to proceed down there. What's interesting about this is that each of these structures here can stand alone as its own separate if statement. For example, everything I'm drawing here is sort of its own if statement in and of itself. Same thing over here, this is just one if statement, and it's sort of like we have encapsulated both of these if statements in a grandmaster if statement here at the top that is giving us the very first question. I'll code this after I bring up Jupyter Notebook, and we'll look at this in action. Here's some code that's supporting that flowchart that we just did. And you see when we run it that I do get to level up, yay! So in this first cell, I'm just establishing the variables and giving them some initialization values. So health at 11 and experience at 8. Now here in this code block is the code that really serves as the engine for this decision-making operation. Our top level question is whether or not health is greater than 10. So there's the if clause and there's the else clause. And you can see that these are aligned on the same tab stop. Now then, inside each of these, we have a completely self-contained if statement, completely self-contained. It could stand alone if it wanted to. So that's what this code is here. It's the completely self-contained if statement that addresses whether or not the experience level is above 5 or not. And it's all indented to a single tab stop. And then you'll see that since it's in and of itself its own if statement, its own clauses then are indented an additional tab stop. And in my class, I do want you to get into the habit of using 4 spaces as your tab stops. So this first one just looks at whether or not we're going to level up or not. If experience is greater than 5. If it is greater than 5 right here, well, then we level up. Otherwise, we don't. You'll see here that I've got a couple of comments in there to help us with our navigational landmarks. They'll let us remember, okay, we're currently in the clause that represents health being greater than 10, for example. Now, in the else clause, we have the same thing. We have a complete standalone self-contained if statement with an if and an else clause. And we're basically asking the same questions, whether or not experience is greater than 5, we level up. If it's not, then we don't get to level up. Now, when we run this, we can do a number of things. First, we've got to run all of the cells in order, just so all of those variables get loaded into memory. So here I'm going to click run on this cell, and then we can click run on this cell, and we get the level up answer here. Let's change this down to a 2 and see. Let's run that and run the next one. And we don't get a level up based on this. With health at 11, but experience as 2, we don't get a level up. Oh, and I have a mistake here. This has to be a 20. Let's try it now where health is a 4 and experience is a 25. We can see if we level up or not. We should, because even though health is low, we've got a very large experience rating. And you can see the answer here that we get, that we do get to level up based on the criteria that we just explored on the whiteboard. So this is just some simple, quick code to help you. Now, a quick question or a quick hint is going to be that your program this week, the major program, not the labs, will have to use a nested structure of this complexity, and we'll have to do another tiny nested if structure embedded in there also. You should be fine. Just carefully map out where everything is, put comments in, place comments to show which clause you're currently executing, and then just code it until it works. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining. Catch you later.